Look down at a pair of high heels today, and you instantly think of modern femininity, red carpets, or maybe a night out. They are the ultimate undisputed symbol of women's fashion. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about them is completely backward? Surprisingly, high heels weren't invented for women at all. In fact, for centuries, they were the ultimate power flex, worn exclusively by hyper-masculine men, kings, and elite cavalry riding into brutal combat. So how did a piece of military tactical gear designed for war transform into the stilettos sitting in your closet right now? When did they originate? Who invented them? And why did men suddenly stop wearing them? Let's find out. To find the true origin of your favorite stilettos, we have to travel back over 1,000 years. We are leaving the glamorous catwalks of Milan and heading straight into the ruthless, dust-choked battlefields of the 10th century Persian Empire. Imagine you are a Persian cavalryman. Your entire military dominance relies on one critical skill: horseback archery. But there's a massive problem. Trying to stand up in your stirrups on a galloping warhorse to shoot an arrow is like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster. If you lose your balance and slip, you die. It's that simple.
The solution? The high heel. It wasn't invented for fashion. It was cutting-edge military technology. The groove in the heel acted as a flawless locking mechanism. The soldier would hook his heel onto the stirrup, allowing him to stand completely upright on a sprinting horse. Suddenly, he is stabilized. He can draw his heavy composite bow with maximum tension and fire a lethal shot right into the enemy lines without getting thrown into the dirt. The shoes sitting in your closet right now share their exact DNA with one of the most effective killing machines of the ancient world. If you were wearing high heels in the 10th century, you weren't trying to look cute for a date. You were an elite special ops warrior raining death from above. But how did this lethal piece of tactical gear make its way from the dusty plains of Persia to the pristine marble floors of European palaces? How did a weapon of war become the ultimate symbol of wealth and status for European men? The answer involves a massive ego, a king obsessed with his own legs, and a bizarre twist of human psychology. Fast forward to the year 1599. The Persian monarch Shah Abbas I sends a wave of diplomatic missions over to Europe to forge new alliances. These Persian envoys roll up to the royal courts of Spain, Germany, and Russia, and the European aristocrats absolutely lose their minds. To them, the Persian cavalry was the epitome of rough, rugged, unapologetic masculinity. Naturally, the European nobles thought, hey, if I wear those shoes, maybe I'll look like a certified badass too. And just like that, the high heel became the ultimate 17th century flex. But here's the irony. The European elite weren't wearing them to shoot arrows from horseback. They were wearing them to stand around on plush carpets and drink expensive wine. Because they had no practical use for the heel, it started getting taller, skinnier, and completely useless for walking. But in the twisted logic of high society, that was exactly the point. If you were wearing shoes that made it physically impossible to do manual labor, you were silently screaming to the world, I am so filthy rich that I literally don't have to work. I have servants to carry me. Enter King Louis XIV of France, the original historical hypebeast. This guy was a short king before the term even existed, standing at a modest 5'4". He wasn't about to let anyone look down on him, literally or figuratively. So he strapped on massive 4-inch heels. But Louis took it a step further. He painted the soles and heels of his shoes a vibrant blood red. Back then, red dye was insanely expensive, made from crushing thousands of tiny cochineal insects imported from the New World. The talon rouge, or red heels, became his trademark. He passed an actual law stating that only the top-tier VIPs in his exclusive inner circle were legally allowed to wear red heels. If you showed up to Versailles with fake red heels and you weren't on his guest list, you were socially and politically executed. But wait, if powerful men loved heels so much, Why are they buried in the women's section of the department store today? How did men just give them up? Well, as the years rolled on, women started adopting masculine fashion to subtly claim a piece of that power. They cut their hair shorter, added epaulets to their outfits, and yes, they started rocking high heels. It was a pure power move. But the real nail in the coffin for men's heels came during the late 18th century in an era historians call the Great Male Renunciation. The Enlightenment was sweeping across Europe. Rationality, science, and practicality were the new cool. Suddenly, looking like a glittering peacock was out. Men completely ditched the makeup, the extravagant wigs, and the heels, trading them in for somber, dark suits and flat, sensible shoes. Society decided that practicality was masculine, while anything decorative or frivolous was feminine. They effectively handed the high heel over to women and walked away. For the next century, the heel stayed relatively low profile. It wasn't until the 1950s that it evolved into the weaponized fashion icon you know today. After the devastation of World War II, engineers had gotten really good at working with metal. Designers like Roger Vivier and Christian Dior took extruded steel, literally military-grade aviation materials, to forge a heel so impossibly thin and high that it would have snapped instantly if made from wood. They called it the stiletto, named directly after a lethal, needle-like Italian dagger. The shoe had come full circle. It started as a weapon of war, and it was reborn using the literal steel of modern warfare. So, the next time you hold a high heel in your hands, look closely at it. Really look at it. You aren't just holding a piece of footwear, you are holding a surviving artifact of human history. That sleek, towering arch isn't just about making you look taller. It's an architectural echo of a Persian warrior standing his ground in the heat of battle. That bright red sole you see on a pair of modern Christian Louboutins, that's not just a fashion statement. That is the ghost of King Louis XIV, echoing his absolute power and divine right to rule from the halls of Versailles. The high heel is a masterclass in survival. It survived empires collapsing, revolutions that severed the heads of kings, and world wars that reshaped the globe. It shapeshifted from a tactical combat advantage to the ultimate symbol of masculine wealth before completely flipping the script to become the defining emblem of feminine glamour and empowerment. It is arguably the single most culturally loaded, deeply misunderstood object we wear today. It's not a prison for your feet, it's a crown for your posture. You are literally walking in the footsteps of ancient assassins, absolute monarchs, and visionary engineers. You hold a piece of history right in your closet. So, I have to ask you, what other everyday object in your house do you think has a dark, hidden past? Which item makes you look at it completely differently after watching this video? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I'm reading every single one to find the topic for our next deep dive. And hey, if you thought the bloody history of the high heel was crazy, you won't believe the terrifying, poisonous truth behind the invention of vintage makeup. Click the video on your screen right now to uncover why Victorian women were literally dying for beauty. I'll see you over there.